I am Rebecca, 32 years old, and a financial advisor who worked hard for my gold credit card with its generous limit. When Mom called about Dad needing urgent medical treatment, I handed it over despite a twinge of doubt. Days later, I scrolled through Instagram and froze. There was my sister Amanda, lounging on a Hawaiian beach. When confronted, she smiled casually. "Thanks to your credit card, but do not worry. I only used $100,000. I laughed and replied, "My card has only $100. Did you check the name?" Before I continue my story, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button, and subscribe if you have ever had family take advantage of your generosity. Trust me, you will want to see how this ends. Growing up in a middle-class neighborhood in Boston shaped much of who I am today. Our family dynamics were established early. My father, Richard, was the supportive parent, always encouraging my academic pursuits and independence. He worked as an engineer for a construction company, putting in long hours to provide for us. Dad always told me, "Rebecca, education is the one thing no one can ever take from you." Those words became my mantra. My mother, Margaret, was a different story. Looking back, I can see the pattern of favoritism that defined our household. While she claimed to love us equally, her actions told a different tale. My sister Amanda, 4 years younger than me, became the center of her universe from the moment she was born. Amanda had the prettier clothes, the newer toys, and most importantly, the benefit of the doubt in any disagreement. "Amanda is more sensitive than you," Mom would say, whenever I pointed out the unfairness. "You have always been so independent and strong." This supposed strength became my curse. I was expected to understand, to compromise, to give up what I wanted because I could handle disappointment better than my sister. By the time I was 16, I had accepted my role as the responsible one, the one who would make sacrifices for family harmony. Education became my escape route. While Amanda was given a car on her 16th birthday, I was told college funds were tight. This pushed me to excel academically. I graduated as valedictorian and earned a partial scholarship to Boston University. The rest I covered through student loans and working part-time at a local bank. Those years were grueling. I would attend morning classes, work afternoon shifts, then study until midnight. Weekends were consumed by extra shifts and coursework. Meanwhile, Amanda attended community college, sporadically dropping classes whenever they became too stressful. Mom always defended her, saying college is not for everyone. My finance degree opened doors. Starting as an entry-level analyst at Robertson Financial Group, I climbed the corporate ladder through sheer determination. Nights, weekends, holidays, I put in the hours while watching colleagues with family connections advance more quickly, but I persisted. By 28, I had paid off my student loans and was promoted to senior financial advisor. My clients respected my straightforward approach and thorough knowledge. I finally moved out of my shared apartment into a small but modern one-bedroom condo. Financial independence felt like breathing freely for the first time. The family dynamics shifted subtly as my career progressed. Dad showed genuine pride in my accomplishments. "You did this all on your own, Becca," he would say, using his special nickname for me. Mom, however, seemed threatened by my success, often diminishing my achievements with comments like, "It must be nice to only worry about yourself." Amanda, now 28, had bounced between jobs in retail and hospitality, never staying anywhere longer than a year. She still lived at home with our parents covering most of her expenses. Her social media portrayed a life of brunches, shopping trips, and weekends away that her actual income could not possibly support. The first time my family asked for significant financial help came 3 years ago. Amanda needed $5,000 to avoid eviction from an apartment she had briefly rented with friends. Though skeptical, I transferred the money after Mom called in tears. The loan was never repaid, and any mention of it was met with accusations of me being obsessed with money. Dad's heart condition was diagnosed 2 years ago. Initially, it seemed manageable with medication and lifestyle changes. He retired earlier than planned from his engineering job, and their income decreased significantly. I started covering small expenses, taking Dad to appointments and researching treatment options. Despite my busy schedule, I visited every Sunday, bringing groceries and often paying for prescriptions. Amanda rarely helped with our father's care, claiming she got too emotional seeing him unwell. Mom enabled this behavior, saying, "Your sister shows her love in different ways." Over the past year, Mom's financial demands increased. First, it was help with property taxes, then a new water heater, then roof repairs. Each time I transferred money without complaint, though, I noticed their spending habits remained unchanged. Amanda still posted about shopping sprees, and Mom still played weekly bridge with her friends at the country club. My recent promotion to Director of Client Services came with a significant salary increase and company perks, including an upgraded corporate credit card. Golden, and embossed with both my name and Robertson Financial Group, it was nearly identical to my personal gold card. The promotion also meant I could finally afford the down payment on a small house in a nearby suburb, something I had dreamed of for years. My family knew about my promotion, but not the specifics of my improved financial situation. I had learned to keep such details private after previous experiences. Still, I never imagined how far they would go to exploit my success. The call came on a Tuesday morning during our weekly strategy meeting. Seeing Mom's name on my phone screen, I excused myself from the conference room. 10 senior advisors watched, as I stepped out, already sensing this was unusual for me. "Rebecca, thank you, God," you answered. Mom's voice trembled with unmistakable panic. "Your father collapsed this morning. We are at Boston General. The doctors say he needs an emergency procedure, some kind of specialized cardiac treatment. The insurance is denying coverage, calling it experimental. We need $30,000 by tomorrow, or they cannot schedule the surgery." My heart raced as I leaned against the hallway wall. What exactly did the doctor say? What procedure is it? Something about valve repair with a new technique. "Rebecca, there is no time for questions. The cardiac specialist is only available this week. Your father could have another episode any moment." Her voice broke. "Please, he needs this." "I am leaving now. I will be there in 30 minutes, I said already, walking toward my office to collect my things. Daniel, my direct supervisor, nodded understandingly when I explained the family emergency. "Take whatever time you need. Your father's health comes first." The drive to Boston General was a blur of anxiety and planning. My emergency fund could cover $30,000, but it would delay my house plans significantly. Still, this was Dad. The man who had attended every school event, who had taught me to change a tire and balance a checkbook. The man who had always believed in me. When I arrived at the hospital, I was surprised to find not the emergency room but the cardiac care unit. Dad was sitting up in bed, looking pale but alert. Mom sat beside him while Amanda was scrolling through her phone in a corner chair. "Becca," Dad smiled weakly. "You did not need to rush over. I am feeling much better now." Before I could respond, Mom interjected. "Do not downplay this, Richard. The doctor said you were lucky." She turned to me. "The specialist explained everything. Without this new procedure, your father could have another episode any time, possibly fatal." Amanda finally looked up from her phone. "It is super serious, Rebecca. Mom has been so stressed, dealing with all the medical stuff and the insurance people." Something felt off about the situation. Dad seemed unaware of the urgency Mom had conveyed. When I asked about the specialist and the procedure details, Mom grew defensive. "The doctor is not here now. He was very clear about the timeline and costs. Rebecca, we do not have time for your analysis paralysis. This is your father's life we are talking about." I asked to speak with the doctor directly. "I have the paperwork right here," Mom said, producing a folder with some medical documents. "The office is closed now anyway. The payment needs to be arranged by tomorrow morning." As I reviewed the papers, Amanda suddenly became interested in our conversation, asking detailed questions about payment methods and timing. The documents looked legitimate, but lacked specific cost breakdowns. "I would like to call the doctor's office first thing tomorrow," I insisted. Mom's expression hardened. By then it could be too late to schedule the procedure. Rebecca, why are you being difficult about this? Your sister would help if she could, but she barely makes enough to support herself. Amanda nodded solemnly. I wish I could help, I really do. I glanced at my sister's designer handbag and newly manicured nails but said nothing. Dad patted my hand. Do not worry about me, Becca. Whatever the doctors recommend, I am sure it can wait until we sort out the insurance. Mom shot him a look. Richard, please. We discussed this. The specialist made it very clear. The manipulation was familiar. The guilt, the urgency, the implication that questioning any aspect of their request meant I did not care enough. I had seen this pattern before, but never with stakes this high. I need to make a phone call, I said, stepping into the hallway. I tried calling the cardiac department directly, but without being an authorized contact on Dad's medical records, they could not share information. I returned to the room conflicted, but determined to help my father. I can cover the treatment, I finally said. But I need to be involved in all medical discussions going forward. I want to meet this specialist. Relief washed over Mom's face. Of course. Of course. The important thing is getting your father the care he needs right now. I opened my wallet, hesitating briefly, as I saw both gold cards side by side, nearly identical, except for the small company logo on one. I handed over my personal card, the one without the logo. The limit should cover the treatment costs. Use it only for the medical expenses, please. I will need all the receipts for my records and possible insurance reimbursement. Mom took the card, her hands trembling slightly. Thank you, Rebecca. I knew we could count on you. She hugged me awkwardly. Your father and I raised such a responsible daughter. Amanda suddenly needed to use the restroom following Mom as she left to make arrangements. I sat with Dad discussing his symptoms and how he had been feeling lately. He seemed genuinely unaware of the supposed urgency. They did mention a new procedure that might help, he acknowledged. But the doctor said we needed to run more tests first. Your mother gets worried easily, you know that. This increased my unease, but I pushed it aside. Medical situations were often confusing, especially for patients. Mom might have simply misunderstood the timeline. Before leaving, I gave Dad a gentle hug. I will check in tomorrow. Please call me after you see the specialist. In the parking lot, I texted Mom. Remember, only for Dad's treatment. Please let me know once it is scheduled. She replied quickly. Of course, dear. Thank you for being our rock. As I drove back to work, a voice in my head questioned whether I had made the right decision. But family obligations ran deep, and the thought of refusing help for Dad's health was unthinkable. I silenced my doubts and focused on the afternoon client meetings ahead. The following days brought brief, vague updates from Mom. Doctor reviewing options, scheduling being arranged. Your father is resting well. My direct questions about the specialist appointment went unanswered or deflected. My calls to Dad went to voicemail more often than not, which was unusual. When I did reach him, he seemed confused about the treatment plans, saying only that Mom was handling everything. My offer to come to the next appointment was politely declined. The unease grew, but work demands consumed my attention. A major client was considering a significant portfolio restructuring, and I needed to prepare comprehensive analyses. The family matter temporarily took a back seat as I focused on my professional responsibilities. The following Monday was exceptionally busy. Back-to-back client meetings filled my morning, followed by a lunch presentation for potential investors. During a brief break, I scrolled through social media to clear my mind. A photo from Rachel, a mutual friend of Amanda and me, appeared in my feed. The caption read, "Missing the island life already. Thanks for the amazing memories, ladies." The image showed 5 women raising cocktail glasses on a stunning beach. Among them, unmistakably, was Amanda. My first thought was that it must be an old photo. Rachel traveled frequently for her marketing job, often posting throwbacks, but the date stamp showed it was posted that morning. I clicked on Rachel's profile and found more photos from the apparent Hawaii trip, all posted within the past few days. Amanda appeared in several looking carefree and tan. Still rationalizing, I thought perhaps Amanda had saved for this trip, though it seemed unlikely given her retail salary. Maybe she had finally landed a better job and was celebrating. I switched to Amanda's profile, which she had apparently not updated recently, but she was tagged in numerous photos from their Hawaii adventure. Images of helicopter tours, luxury resort accommodations, and shopping bags from high-end stores filled my screen. In one particularly jarring photo, Amanda posed with a new designer handbag, the price of which I knew exceeded $2,000. The caption read, "Sometimes you just need to treat yourself." A cold realization began forming in my mind. I checked my online banking app. There were no unusual transactions on my personal accounts. Then I remembered the credit card I had given Mom. I logged into my card account and froze. Multiple charges appeared from Hawaiian Airlines, the Four Seasons Resort Maui, various restaurants and shops in Wailea, and several $1,000s in spa treatments. The total charges exceeded $90,000 in just 5 days. My hands shook as I scrolled through the itemized list. First-class flights for 5 people, presidential suite accommodations, private tours, champagne dinners, shopping sprees at luxury boutiques. The extravagance was breathtaking in its brazenness. I called my father immediately. Voicemail. I texted, "Need to speak with you urgently about your treatment. Please call." Then I tried my mother. "Where is Dad right now? Is he having the procedure today?" Her response came quickly. "He is resting. Doctor appointments went well. Why?" The vagueness confirmed my suspicions. I pressed further. "Which doctor? What procedure? Exactly, I want to speak with him directly." "He cannot talk right now. We'll have him call you later." I stepped out of the office and called Boston General Hospital directly. After navigating the automated system, I reached the cardiac care unit. "I am calling about patient Richard Harrison. I am his daughter. Has he been admitted for a procedure this week?" After verifying my identity, the nurse checked their records. Mr. Harrison had a follow-up appointment last Wednesday, but he has not been admitted for any procedures. His next appointment is scheduled for next month. The confirmation hit like a physical blow. There was no emergency procedure, no $30,000 treatment, no specialist with a limited schedule. I called my colleague Stephanie, the only person at work who knew details about my family situation. "I need a favor. Can you cover my afternoon meetings? Family emergency." "Of course," she said, hearing the strain in my voice. "Is your dad okay?" That is what I need to find out. Before leaving, I checked one more detail. My corporate credit card and personal gold card looked nearly identical at a glance. Had I accidentally given Mom the wrong one? A quick check of my wallet confirmed my suspicion. My Robertson Financial Group card was missing. The company card with a $250,000 limit for client events and business expenses. The implications were staggering. Not only had my family lied about the medical emergency, but they had fraudulently used a corporate credit card for personal expenses. This went beyond family betrayal into potential criminal territory. I called the credit card security department immediately. "I need to report unauthorized use of my corporate card." "Can you verify the recent transactions?" the representative asked. Hawaii. Approximately $90,000 in charges over the past week. None of them authorized or business-related. "I see those charges. We will flag them as fraudulent and begin the investigation process. We will need a formal statement from you and your company." My professional reputation flashed before my eyes. 6 years of meticulous work building client trust, potentially damaged by my own family's deception. As I drove toward my parents' house, emotions cycled through me like a violent storm. Betrayal, rage, humiliation, and beneath it all, a strange sense of clarity. The patterns that had defined our family for decades were now impossible to ignore or excuse. I arrived at my parents' suburban home just after 4 in the afternoon. Amanda's red Volkswagen sat in the driveway, confirming she had returned from her Hawaiian adventure. The front door was unlocked as usual. Amanda sat at the kitchen island, her skin glowing with a fresh tan, scrolling through photos on her phone. She looked up, momentarily startled by my entrance, then smiled casually. "Rebecca. What a surprise. I was just going to call you." "Were you?" I kept my voice deliberately calm, closing the door behind me. "How was Hawaii?" Her expression flickered briefly before settling into practiced innocence. "Oh, you saw the photos. It was amazing. Rachel invited me last minute when someone dropped out of their group. Such a spontaneous thing." "Spontaneous," I repeated. "Those are often the best trips. The Four Seasons Maui is beautiful this time of year, I hear." Amanda shifted uncomfortably. "We got a good deal." "I am sure you did." I pulled out a chair across from her. "I am curious, though. How does a retail associate afford first-class tickets and presidential suites on short notice?" Her eyes darted toward the doorway, as if looking for escape. "We split costs. And I have been saving. Saving for the helicopter tours, too. And the $2,000 handbag." The pretense began crumbling. Amanda straightened, something hardening in her expression. "Fine. Mom helped me." "With what money, exactly?" She tossed her hair back, defiance replacing discomfort. "With the money for Dad's treatment. But do not worry, there is plenty left. We did not use the whole 100,000. The casual admission stunned me despite my preparation. The complete lack of remorse, the entitled assumption that our father's supposed medical needs were less important than her vacation whims. "So there was never any emergency procedure," I stated flatly. Amanda shrugged. "Dad does need treatment eventually, but not right away. Mom thought you would never agree to help with my trip if we just asked directly. You are always so judgy about how I spend money." "Judgy," I repeated. "About fraudulently using someone else's credit card for luxury vacations. Yes, I suppose I am." "Oh, please. It is not like you cannot afford it. You make more in a month than I do all year. Would it kill you to share a little of your success?" The front door opened before I could respond. Mom entered carrying grocery bags, freezing when she saw me. "Rebecca. What a nice surprise." Her voice was unnaturally high. "I was just picking up ingredients for dinner. Will you join us?" "I think we need to talk about Dad's emergency procedure first," I said evenly, "and the $90,000 charged to my credit card for Amanda's Hawaiian vacation." Mom set down the groceries slowly. "It is not what it looks like." "Really? Because it looks like you lied about Dad needing urgent medical treatment to get my credit card, then gave it to Amanda for a luxury vacation with her friends." "Your father does need that procedure," Mom insisted, though her voice lacked conviction. The timing changed. The specialist had a scheduling conflict. I called the hospital. There is no procedure scheduled, no specialist with a limited schedule, no $30,000 treatment being denied by insurance." Mom's facade cracked slightly. "The hospital would not tell you that information. Patient confidentiality." "They told me enough. Stop lying, Mom." Amanda interjected, clearly annoyed by the confrontation. "Why are you making such a big deal about this? You have plenty of money, and it is not like I maxed out your card. I only used like 90,000. Your limit is way higher." "You only used 90,000, I repeated incredulously, "for a week in Hawaii, while lying about our father's health." The front door opened again, and Dad entered. He looked tired, but nowhere near the medical emergency case Mom had described. He stopped short, seeing all of us in what was clearly a tense situation. "What is going on here?" he asked. "Did you know about this, Dad? About the lie regarding your treatment? About Mom giving my credit card to Amanda for a Hawaii trip?" His genuine shock answered before his words could. "What treatment?" What credit card? Margaret, what is she talking about? Mom's composure faltered completely. Richard, please. I can explain everything. Dad needs some minor tests, she told me hurriedly. The doctor recommended them for later this summer. I might have exaggerated the urgency a little. And then Amanda and her friends had this opportunity for a group rate to Hawaii. A group rate that included first-class flights and presidential suites. I pulled out my phone and showed him the credit card statement. Dad's face paled as he scrolled through the charges. $90,000, Margaret? Have you lost your mind? It was supposed to be a loan, Mom said weakly. We were going to pay it back slowly. With what money? Dad demanded. We are barely covering our monthly expenses as it is. Amanda rolled her eyes. Everyone is being so dramatic. Rebecca is rich now. This is nothing to her. Nothing. I finally allowed my voice to rise. You committed fraud, Amanda. Both of you did. You lied to get my credit card and used it without authorization. But it is your card, Amanda protested. It has your name on it. A strange calm settled over me. Actually, it does not. Well, not just my name. Mom frowned. What are you talking about? We used your gold card, the one you gave me at the hospital. Look at it, I said. Did you actually look at the name on the card? Amanda dug through her purse and produced the gold credit card. For the first time, uncertainty crossed her face as she examined it closely. Robertson Financial Group, she read slowly. What is this? That is my corporate card. For business expenses only. The one with my name alone is my personal card. They look similar, which is why I keep them in separate wallet compartments. The color drained from Mom's face. You gave me the wrong card by mistake. No, I corrected her. I gave you my personal card. You must have switched them or taken the wrong one from my wallet. The one you used belongs to my company. Every charge you made is corporate fraud. Dad sank into a chair. Dear God. That is why I seemed more upset about the amount than the betrayal. I continued, my voice steady, because it is not just about family anymore. You used a corporate card for personal expenses. $90,000 of unauthorized charges. Well, how are we supposed to know? Amanda's voice rose defensively. They look exactly the same. They do not. One clearly says Robertson Financial Group, and regardless, you had no right to use either card for a vacation after lying about Dad's health. So, what happens now? Mom asked, her voice small. That depends on my company. And on you. The card has already been flagged for fraudulent activity. An investigation will follow. You reported us to the credit card company, Amanda screeched. Your own family. I reported unauthorized use of my corporate card, which I am legally obligated to do. I corrected her. What happens next depends partly on how you handle this. Dad looked up, his expression a mixture of shame and anger. Margaret, Amanda, you will both apologize to Rebecca right now. Then we will figure out how to pay back every cent. With what money? Amanda snapped. We do not have $90,000. Then perhaps you should have thought of that before spending it, Dad replied sharply. My God! Using my supposed medical emergency as an excuse. How could you both do something so despicable? The family dynamic was fracturing before my eyes. Years of enabling behavior, favoritism, and entitlement were being exposed in one brutal moment of clarity. I stood up suddenly, needing space. I need to go. I have calls to make regarding this situation. You cannot just leave, Mom protested. We need to fix this as a family. I am not the one who broke it, I replied. And right now I need to save my professional reputation from the damage you have caused. As I walked toward the door, I turned back one last time. By the way, Dad, I will arrange for a proper cardiac consultation next week, a real one with a legitimate specialist. Because, unlike some people in this family, I actually care about your health. The stunned silence followed me out the door. In my car, I allowed myself 5 minutes of pure, unrestrained emotion. Tears of anger, betrayal, and strange relief flowed freely. Then I wiped my face, took a deep breath, and made the first of many necessary calls. Daniel, this is Rebecca. We have a situation with my corporate card. I need to speak with finance and legal as soon as possible. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in our company's financial officer's office, explaining the situation in clinical detail. Paula Jenkins, our chief financial officer, listened with an increasingly troubled expression. To be clear, she summarized, your mother took your corporate card, believing it was your personal card, after lying about your father needing emergency medical treatment. Then she gave the card to your sister, who charged approximately $90,000 on a vacation to Hawaii. That is correct, I confirmed. I have already contacted the credit card company to report the unauthorized use. I wanted to inform the company immediately and take responsibility for my part in this situation. Paula sighed. This is certainly not the first time a corporate card has been misused, though usually it is the employee themselves making inappropriate charges, not family members. She typed some notes into her computer. The charges are clearly fraudulent, and we will need to proceed accordingly. The credit card company will conduct their investigation. Have you spoken with your family about repayment? Yes, but realistically, they do not have the means to repay $90,000 quickly. My sister works retail, and my parents are retired with limited income. Paula nodded thoughtfully. In cases like this, the company has several options. We can pursue full criminal charges for credit card fraud, which would potentially involve police and courts. Or, we can handle it more privately, working out a repayment plan, possibly with legal consequences, but without criminal charges. My stomach tightened at the word criminal. Despite everything, these were still my family members. What would you recommend? I asked. Document everything, Paula advised. Every conversation, every admission. Gather evidence from social media of the trip. We will need all of this for the credit card company and our insurance. As for pressing charges, that decision will ultimately come from executive leadership, but your input will be considered. I left the meeting with a clear action plan. First, I would document the evidence thoroughly. Second, I would consult with a lawyer friend about my options. Third, I would maintain minimal contact with my family while the situation unfolded. Back at my apartment, I methodically took screenshots of every Instagram post, every credit card charge, and every text message exchanged with my mother. I wrote a detailed timeline of events from the initial call about the medical emergency to the confrontation at my parents' house. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from Mom and Amanda, ranging from tearful apologies to defensive accusations. I responded minimally, stating only that I would be in touch when I had more information about the legal and financial implications. Dad called once, his voice heavy with shame. Rebecca, I had no idea about any of this. I am so sorry. I know, Dad. This is not your fault. How are you really feeling health-wise? The same. Some fatigue, occasional chest pain. Nothing urgent despite what your mother claimed. I will set up a real appointment with a cardiac specialist. We need to address your health properly. Thank you, Becca. He paused. Your mother and sister. They are terrified about potential legal consequences. As they should be, I replied honestly. This goes beyond family drama, Dad. They committed fraud with a corporate credit card. He sighed deeply. I understand. Just, please keep me informed. The following day, I met with my lawyer friend Jessica for lunch. After explaining the situation, she outlined the potential consequences. Corporate card fraud typically carries serious penalties, she explained. The credit card company and your employer could pursue criminal charges, resulting in fines or even jail time, especially given the amount involved. My heart sank. Jail time. For both of them. Potentially, though, first offenders sometimes receive probation instead. Your sister would likely face more serious consequences, since she was the one who actually used the card. Jessica continued. However, there are mitigating options. If your family can arrange partial repayment and show good faith, the company might agree to a structured settlement without criminal charges. I nodded, processing this information. What would you do in my position? Honestly, I would let this play out naturally for now. Your family needs to understand the gravity of their actions. Sometimes legal consequences are the only way that happens. That afternoon I received a call from Paula at the company. The credit card company has completed their initial fraud investigation. They have confirmed the charges were unauthorized and are preparing to pursue the matter. Our legal team recommends we file a formal report. I understand, I said, and I support whatever action the company deems necessary. That evening, the first panicked call came from Amanda. Rebecca, someone from the credit card company, called me. They were asking all these questions about the charges and saying something about fraud investigation. What did you do? I did not do anything, Amanda. You used a corporate card fraudulently. This is the natural consequence. But we are family. You cannot let them come after us like this. I reported unauthorized use of my corporate card, which I am legally required to do. What happens next is largely out of my hands. Her tone changed from panic to threatening. If I get arrested over this, I will never forgive you. Never. You should have thought about potential consequences before spending $90,000 that was not yours, I replied calmly. I suggest you consult with a lawyer. Mom called next, sobbing. Rebecca, please stop this. We will pay it back. Amanda did not mean any harm. Did not mean harm, Mom. You both lied about Dad having a medical emergency to get my card. Then you spent $90,000 on a luxury vacation. That was deliberate and calculated harm. We made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But pressing charges against your own family, how could you? I am not pressing charges. The credit card company and my employer are pursuing this as the fraud case it is. And frankly, Mom, your concern seems more about avoiding consequences than actual remorse. The days that followed brought increasingly desperate messages. Amanda's friends from the Hawaii trip were also being contacted by investigators, bringing the scandal into their social circle. Mom reported that neighbors had seen an investigator at their house, causing humiliating speculation. My company was supportive but concerned about the potential publicity. The executives decided that pursuing full criminal charges would be the standard protocol for fraud of this magnitude, but they would consider a settlement if significant repayment could be arranged. Meanwhile, I arranged for Dad to see a legitimate cardiac specialist. The consultation revealed that while he did need some treatment, it was far less urgent and expensive than Mom had claimed. A $20,000 procedure could be mostly covered by insurance, with perhaps $5,000 out of pocket. I called my parents' house and asked to speak with Dad alone. We arranged to meet at a cafe the following day. I will pay for your actual medical treatment, I told him over coffee. I have already spoken with the specialist and we can schedule it for next month. Tears filled his eyes. After everything that has happened, you would still do that for me. You did nothing wrong, Dad, and I want you to be healthy. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. I have failed as a husband and father. I should have seen what was happening, should have stopped it years ago. What do you mean? The way your mother always favored Amanda taught her that she deserved special treatment. The way I stood by and allowed it, thinking it was easier than confronting the behavior. I enabled this situation as much as anyone. His self-awareness surprised me. What will you do now? I honestly do not know. Your mother and I have some serious discussions ahead. And Amanda. He shook his head. She needs to face real consequences for once in her life. 3 weeks after the initial discovery, the company's decision came down. They would pursue criminal charges against Amanda as the primary user of the card, with a possibility of reducing charges if a significant portion of the money could be repaid immediately. Mom would be named as an accessory, but might avoid criminal charges with a settlement agreement. The reality of the situation finally seemed to hit my family. Amanda emptied her savings account, sold her car, and borrowed from friends to compile $20,000 as a good faith payment. Mom liquidated some jewelry and their small investment account to add another $15,000. It was nowhere near the full amount, but it demonstrated genuine effort. The company agreed to a structured settlement for the remaining balance with legally binding repayment terms. Amanda would need to perform 500 hours of community service, and any violation of the repayment agreement would trigger the suspended criminal charges. The humiliation of the settlement process finally broke through Amanda's entitlement. For perhaps the first time in her life, she faced consequences she could not charm or manipulate her way out of. The family dynamic had fundamentally changed. Dad moved temporarily to a small apartment, saying he needed space to reevaluate his marriage. Mom began therapy, finally confronting her problematic parenting patterns. Amanda took a second job and moved in with a friend, her social media presence notably subdued. As for me, I bought the small house I had been saving for, though with a higher mortgage than planned, due to the smaller down payment. It was a fresh start, a space entirely my own, untainted by family dysfunction. The physical distance felt necessary for my healing process. The corporate incident became a footnote in my professional record, rather than a career-defining scandal, thanks to my immediate transparency. My relationship with my family, however, would never be the same. That required a different kind of healing, one that could only begin once truth and accountability replaced the old patterns of manipulation and enabling. 6 weeks after the settlement agreement, I returned home from work to find Mom and Amanda sitting on my front porch. Their appearance was striking in its dishevelment, a far cry from their usual polished facades. "We need to talk to you," Mom said, her voice lacking its usual manipulative tremor. "Please just give us 15 minutes. Against my better judgment, I unlocked the door and let them in. My new house was still sparsely furnished, but it was mine, purchased with my own hard-earned money, despite the financial setback. Amanda paced the living room nervously. "The credit card company is freezing my personal accounts. They say I violated the settlement agreement by missing the first payment." "Did you miss the payment?" I asked. "Just by a few days. I got laid off from the retail job, and the restaurant does not pay until next week. But they are threatening to reinstate criminal charges." Mom stepped forward. "Rebecca, we need your help. Just a small loan to make this payment and get them off our backs. We will pay you back as soon as." I held up my hand. "Stop. Just stop. This is exactly the pattern that got us here in the first place. You make bad decisions, then expect me to bail you out without any real accountability." "But they are talking about pressing charges against Amanda." Mom's voice rose in panic. "She could go to jail." "Yes," I acknowledged. "That was the agreement. If she violated the settlement terms, the suspended charges would be reinstated. Actions have consequences." "How can you be so cold?" Mom demanded. "This is your sister." "The same sister who took my credit card on false pretenses and spent $90,000 on a luxury vacation, who showed zero remorse until legal consequences loomed. That sister." Amanda slumped onto my couch. "I know I messed up, okay, I know that. But I cannot go to jail, Rebecca. I just cannot." The doorbell rang, interrupting our conversation. Dad stood on the porch, looking surprised to see Mom's car in the driveway. "I should have called first," he said when I opened the door. "I can come back another time." "No, please come in," I replied. Mom and Amanda were just explaining how they violated the settlement agreement, and now want me to bail them out again. Dad entered, his expression hardening when he saw them. "Margaret, Amanda. Why am I not surprised?" "Richard, please," Mom began. "Amanda lost her job. It is not her fault." "Was it also not her fault when she charged $90,000 to a stolen credit card?" Dad asked pointedly. "Or when she missed a payment she knew was legally required?" The directness of his response startled all of us. This was not the conflict-avoidant father I had known my entire life. "I have been enabling both of you for decades," he continued. "Rebecca was right all along. There have never been real consequences for either of you, and I am as much to blame for that as anyone. So, you are just going to let your daughter go to jail? Mom asked incredulously. If that is what it takes for her to finally understand that actions have consequences, then yes, Dad replied firmly. Though I suspect it will not come to that if she demonstrates genuine effort to make things right. Amanda looked between her parents, seemingly shocked by this united front of accountability. What am I supposed to do? I do not have the money right now. You could start by selling those designer bags and clothes you bought in Hawaii, I suggested, and the jewelry, and perhaps getting a more reliable job than retail and restaurant work. Rebecca, Dad interjected. I did not come here to pile on. In fact, I came to thank you. The cardiac procedure is scheduled for next week. The specialist you found is excellent, and the insurance is covering most of it just as you said. I smiled genuinely for the first time in weeks. That is great news, Dad. He turned to Mom and Amanda. This is what actual family support looks like. Rebecca has every reason to wash her hands of all of us, yet she is still making sure I get proper medical care. Meanwhile, you two are here asking for more money, after everything you have done. Mom's composure cracked. I do not know what you want from me. I have apologized 1,000 times. I sold my jewelry. I am seeing a therapist. What more can I possibly do? You can stop looking for shortcuts and quick fixes, I said quietly. You can accept that rebuilding trust takes time and consistent effort, not grand gestures or tearful apologies. The conversation continued for hours, cycling through accusations, defenses, and finally hesitant steps toward honest communication. Dad revealed that his temporary separation from Mom was becoming more permanent. He had begun to recognize how their dysfunctional marriage had fostered the family problems. I enabled your mother's favoritism because it was easier than fighting it, he admitted. I let Amanda become entitled and irresponsible because confronting the behavior meant confronting your mother. And I let you become the family scapegoat, Rebecca, because you were strong enough to handle it. I failed both my daughters in different ways. This raw honesty created space for Amanda to finally drop her defensive posture. I do not want to be this person, she said, tears streaming down her face. The person who steals from her sister and thinks it is justified. The person everyone sees as spoiled and entitled. Then change, I said simply. Not with promises or dramatic declarations, but with consistent actions over time. By the end of that difficult evening, we had established new boundaries. I would not be providing financial assistance to either Mom or Amanda, regardless of circumstances. Dad would help Amanda find more stable employment through his engineering connections, but only if she demonstrated commitment to change. Most importantly, we acknowledged that healing our family relationships would be a long, uncertain process. The settlement violation would need to be addressed directly with the credit card company without my intervention. Trust would need to be rebuilt gradually, through actions, not words. In the months that followed, our family underwent a painful but necessary transformation. Dad's procedure was successful, and his recovery gave him renewed energy to rebuild his life independently. He moved permanently into his own apartment and began volunteering with a literacy program at the local library. Mom struggled with the separation and the loss of her comfortable lifestyle. The family home had to be sold to cover remaining debts, and she moved into a small rental condo. Her therapy sessions continued, though progress was slow and inconsistent. Some days she showed genuine insight into her behavior patterns. Other days, she reverted to manipulation and victim mentality. Amanda narrowly avoided criminal charges by selling virtually all her luxury possessions and taking a steady office job through Dad's connections. The strict structure of corporate employment chafed against her free-spirited nature, but the consistent paycheck allowed her to meet the settlement obligations. Her social media presence transformed from showcasing an artificially glamorous lifestyle to occasionally sharing honest reflections on personal growth. Extended family and social connections reacted predictably to the family implosion. Mom's bridge club friends largely distanced themselves once her social status diminished. Amanda's Hawaii trip friends disappeared when she could no longer participate in their expensive activities. A few family members took sides, either condemning my betrayal or praising my courage depending on their own values. Throughout this tumultuous period, I maintained my professional focus, channeling my emotional energy into client success and team leadership. My colleagues, aware of the general situation, but not the specific details, provided quiet support through their respect and normal treatment. Stephanie, my closest work friend, occasionally checked in on my emotional well-being. "Are you actually processing what happened or just pushing through?" she asked over lunch one day. "Both, I think," I answered honestly. The betrayal still hurts, but watching them finally face reality is strangely healing. It validates what I have felt my entire life but could never quite articulate. The most unexpected development came through my professional experience. I began offering specialized financial counseling for clients navigating family financial dynamics. My personal experience, translated into professional wisdom, without revealing private details, resonated deeply with clients struggling with similar issues. 6 months after the confrontation, our family gathered for a carefully neutral dinner at a restaurant to mark Dad's full recovery. The conversation was stilted but civil, focusing primarily on safe topics like Dad's volunteer work and my recent professional certification. As we prepared to leave, Amanda pulled me aside. "I know we have a long way to go," she said quietly. "But I want you to know, I am actually grateful this happened. I did not like who I was becoming. I still have a lot to figure out, but at least now, I am trying to be someone I can respect." It was not a dramatic reconciliation or a Hollywood ending, just a small moment of authentic connection amid the complicated process of family healing. And for now, that was enough. 1 year after discovering the Hawaii trip fraud, I stood in my backyard watching friends and colleagues mingle at my housewarming party. The small suburban home was finally fully furnished, decorated in my preferred minimalist style rather than the ornate approach Mom had always pushed. Dad arrived early to help set up, looking healthier than he had in years. Regular exercise and proper medication had improved his condition dramatically. His volunteer work had expanded to include financial literacy classes for seniors, inspired partly by our family's difficult journey. "Beautiful place, Becca," he said, surveying the carefully landscaped yard. "You have created something really special here." "Thanks, Dad. It took longer than planned, but it was worth the wait." We both understood the unspoken reference to the financial setback caused by the previous year's events. The remaining settlement payments from Amanda and Mom had been consistent but small, and would continue for several more years. "Have you heard from your mother lately?" he asked carefully. "She called last week. Apparently her therapy is going well. She mentioned possibly volunteering at a women's shelter." Dad nodded thoughtfully. "Growth comes in unexpected ways sometimes. The Margaret I married would never have considered volunteer work, too busy maintaining appearances." Our conversation was interrupted by the arrival of more guests. Dad integrated seamlessly with my friends and colleagues, his natural warmth and genuine interest in others creating easy connections. Amanda arrived last, having come directly from work. Her transformation over the past year had been the most visible. Gone were the designer clothes and carefully curated appearance. She wore simple business attire, her previously highlighted hair, now its natural brown. The community service hours required by her settlement had evolved into regular volunteer work with a youth financial literacy program. "Sorry I am late," she said, handing me a small plant. "From my community garden plot. I thought it might fit your landscaping theme." The gesture, modest but thoughtful, exemplified our new relationship. Not close, not completely healed, but gradually rebuilding on a foundation of respect rather than obligation. Later that evening, as guests departed, I found myself sitting on the back porch with Stephanie. "You seem at peace," she observed, "more than I have ever seen you." "I am getting there," I acknowledged. "The past year taught me lessons I needed to learn, painful as they were." "Like what?" she prompted. I considered the question carefully. That family love without boundaries is not really love at all. That enabling bad behavior hurts everyone involved. That sometimes the kindest thing you can do is let people face the consequences of their actions. And what about forgiveness? Stephanie asked. Have you forgiven them? I am working on it, I answered honestly. Not the Hollywood version of forgiveness where everything magically returns to normal. The real kind where you acknowledge the harm done, but choose not to let it control your future. The legal aspects of the situation had resolved as well as could be expected. Amanda had completed her community service hours and maintained the payment schedule. The suspended criminal charges remained just that, suspended, contingent on her continued compliance. Mom had fulfilled her portion of the settlement agreement by selling additional assets and maintaining regular payments. My professional reputation had not only survived but thrived. The transparency with which I had handled the situation earned respect from company leadership. 6 months after the incident, I was promoted to regional director overseeing client services for the Northeast Territory. The promotion came with another ironic twist, one I kept largely to myself. My increased salary would have easily covered the fraudulent charges that had caused so much chaos. But the money had never been the point. The betrayal, the lies, the lifetime of dysfunctional patterns had needed to be addressed, regardless of the dollar amount. My relationship with Dad had deepened into an adult friendship based on mutual respect. We met weekly for coffee, discussing everything from current events to personal philosophy. He had begun dating recently, a development that initially shocked me, but ultimately seemed healthy. The woman, a fellow literacy volunteer named Susan, brought out a light-hearted side of him I had rarely seen during his marriage to Mom. Mom and I maintained limited contact, primarily through monthly phone calls. Her journey was more complicated, her insights into her behavior patterns inconsistent. Some conversations showed remarkable self-awareness. Others reverted to subtle manipulation. I had learned to set clear boundaries, ending calls when old patterns emerged. Amanda and I were building a new kind of sisterhood, one based on adult respect rather than the competitive dynamic Mom had fostered. We were not close friends and likely never would be, but we had found a way to appreciate each other's strengths. She had recently enrolled in community college courses, pursuing an associate degree in business administration, a path I supported from a careful distance. The most profound change was within myself. The people-pleasing, the excessive responsibility, the need to fix everything for everyone had diminished. I had learned to say no without guilt, and yes without resentment. My friendships were deeper. My romantic relationship with a thoughtful architect named David was healthier, and my professional confidence had soared. The hardest lesson had been accepting that family healing does not follow a neat narrative arc. There would be no perfect resolution, no moment when all wounds were healed and all relationships fully restored. Instead, there was the messy ongoing process of growth, boundaries, and cautious reconnection. As the sun set on my new backyard, I felt a sense of peace that had eluded me for most of my life. The family betrayal had been painful, but it had also been the catalyst for breaking destructive patterns that had persisted for generations. In forcing us all to face reality, it had ultimately created space for something healthier to grow. The financial advisor in me could not help but appreciate the irony, the investment metaphor at work in my personal life. Sometimes the greatest returns come only after a significant correction in the market. The gold credit card incident had been that correction, painful, but ultimately necessary for genuine growth. I had learned that true wealth had little to do with credit limits or account balances. It was measured instead by self-respect, by relationships, based on mutual trust, by the courage to stand firm in your truth, even when it would be easier to look away. Most importantly, I had learned that healing begins not with dramatic gestures, but with small, consistent choices. The choice to set boundaries, the choice to require accountability, the choice to value truth over comfortable illusions, and ultimately the choice to create your own definition of family, one based on respect and reciprocity rather than obligation and guilt. Have you ever had to make difficult decisions about family and money? How did you handle it? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to show your support. Your experiences might help someone else facing similar challenges. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember, sometimes the hardest boundaries to set are the ones that ultimately bring us the most peace. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next story.